I used to drink to escape my life, and now I drink to celebrate. I actually want to ask everybody what their own relationship with alcohol is or has been.
So I never really thought I was getting too affected by it. But then
when you drink alcohol, you black out. You don't, as you said, you don't go into that deep state where you're actually having any dreams.
I used it as a way to feel confident.
It will affect consistency and your adherence, which again, both of those things are so important for changing your body composition.
Alcohol makes you fat.
You just lack discipline, so like you're a lot less likely to do what you said you would if you're out at the weekend.
Your body essentially treats it like poison.
You might be borrowing tomorrow's happiness, but it is worth it, and there is sometimes like that is good for you.
When alcohol is in your system, fat oxidation, so fat burning, is blunted. Hey there, and welcome to the Future Fitness Lifestyle. If you're passionate about staying fit, healthy, and mentally sharp, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Matt Cooney, and each week we dive into the latest trends, expert insights, and actionable tips to help you take your fitness, nutrition, and mental well-being to the next level. Ready to level up your health and fitness? Let's jump in and get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Future Fitness Lifestyle. I want to laugh because I feel Eve is muting herself and Tommy's in a sauna apparently to start this episode. And today we're actually have a really good topic. We're going to be talking all about alcohol, but I forgot on last week's episode to do the random question. So we're going to do that first. Then we'll get into the episode. Then I'm going to do one again at the end. So, team, I have a question for you. What would someone who doesn't know you well be most surprised about? I already know mine, that I'm born in Australia. If you don't know me, you wouldn't realize that. I got out.
Mine is definitely when I tell people I'm 33, they're like, no, you're not.
I could steal that, Tommy.
What, they think you're 23? How is it?
Not quite 23.
Unless now with the cash, you definitely don't look 23 anymore. November. Can't take you seriously.
I think mine would be my age as well. Yeah, I think my age or the fact that I have a 12-year-old daughter. Yeah, those two things usually when I tell people, they're like, what?
Yeah,
I
you definitely have one with Grace.
I can't
Sarah,
think.
that's your...
Yeah, I would have to say age as well.
I can't think.
I feel like people always, when I tell them my age, they're like, what? So that'll do.
Eve, I think yours would be you can speak Spanish and German.
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
I can't.
Yes, you can.
I used to be able to speak Spanish.
Well, you're qualified to... Yeah, you're qualified to teach
Oh yeah,
both of
maybe
them.
that.
You can
I
speak
actually went to study to be a teacher, so that would be one.
in a past life. Eve actually did Spanish grinds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
give her a
Spanish
margarita
grinds.
and she'll speak
Did
fluent
you?
Spanish.
Yeah. Cuando vengo hablo mucho.
Oh,
Oh my... That was my next thing. We're going to talk about alcohol, obviously, and we're going to get into that. But I want to be the barman for a minute. And funny enough, Ro, I couldn't think of the drink for Eve. I was like, what drink will I give her? Hers is
course.
margarita. Ro, you're going to be like a whiskey on the rocks. Tommy,
Bourbon.
Sauvignon Blanc bottle. Not a glass bottle. Sharon, the vodka and sparkling water.
Tonic.
No.
Oh no, vodka tonic.
Yeah, vodka tonic.
Who did I get
Yeah,
along?
you're an espresso martini.
I'd say Roisin would be more of like what's the drink you like,
Old-fashioned.
Roisin, that you always get? That
Old-fashioned,
cocktail.
which is,
Old
yeah, bourbon.
fashioned. Yeah, old fashioned.
Yeah.
That is whiskey. No, you're nearly
I was
there,
going to
Matt.
say whiskey. I know it was some type of whiskey, like. I was going to say old fashioned, but I didn't know if that was an actual whiskey, which is bad of me. I should, in my barman years. We're talking about alcohol. Sharon or Tommy, did you ever work at a bar?
never. Not once.
No.
One night only? Or once?
No, sorry, never. No. It's actually something funny.
No.
Like a lot of my cousins, particularly Martin and Hy-Vee and that, and they just never even ever did it.
Did you, Sharon?
No, I think I collected glasses. Maybe a couple of nights, Long Charlie's when it was busy, but no, never worked behind.
Yeah, get it for you.
free hot cash. You collect a few glasses.
So, yeah, so the two O'Keefes here, you're the experienced barmaids. So this is you're in your element now. So I want to kind of go before we get into like alcohol and like kind of the effects of alcohol, things like that, obviously it's a huge part of the Irish society and culture. Essentially kind of like what we're known for. And it's like nearly part of our identity. So what I wanted to do first, I actually want to ask everybody, because I'm actually interested in this, like what their own relationship with alcohol is or has been. So when you started drinking, basically from why, from the time you started to now, how has your relationship been? Because I think it's good for the listeners as well, and I'm actually personally interested to get an idea. Because if we talk all this about alcohol, it comes to the end, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm actually a pioneer, never drank before." It's which none of us, I'm sure, are going to say it, but it's good to give the listeners background into our own stories with alcohol. Anyone want to go first, or if you want me to, I'll go. Anyone want to jump in?
What was
Come on,
the first
Sharon.
one?
Tommy.
When?
Tommy looks like he wants to go.
Sharon's gone.
You sure? When I started drinking quite young. I'm going to say I started drinking at like 14. I think I was going out on nights out maybe 16. And like when I was younger, when we would have went drinking, like we would have been drinking like I was probably drinking about most of the year actually. And then like it was just something that was the norm. That kind of alcohol, even though I was underage, I legally shouldn't have been drinking, but I was. And I suppose when I was in college, my second year of college, I think that's probably the year I drank the most ever. We were out like every night of the weekend. We were out during the week in college. Probably the year, that was the year before I got pregnant with Grace. We had a great social life. It was brilliant. And I think after that, then everything really changed for me with my relationship with alcohol. I would have still been going out when Grace was younger. And I think when I started powerlifting, I think when I started competing in powerlifting, that's when it kind of changed for me a lot. Like I used to, obviously, I'd be, even after having Grace, I was in the gym and I was exercising, I was eating well or whatever, but that would be Monday to Friday. And then I'd be out at the weekend. I'd be dying on Monday, Tuesday, starting to come right Wednesday, the normal cycle. But then when I started competing in powerlifting, that was when the consistency kind of came, because then I was really starting to see the effects alcohol was having on my training, on my performance. And obviously when you're competing, when you're working towards something, it gave me a focus. And obviously, like with having a small child as well, I couldn't really be going out as much as I would have been before I had her. And I saw, like, the next day being hungover, like being hungover when you have a child, it's not worth it. It's so much harder. And I think it just, like, I kind of just felt it wasn't fair on her to be like feeling like that, or just be substandard for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday in the week. And then I think now, like, I barely ever drink now, but when I drink, but it wouldn't bother me now to not drink. It wouldn't bother me now to not go out every weekend, or if I never had a drink. When I was growing up, like, do you know the way in some people's houses they'd drink at dinner, or they'd maybe have a few drinks at home? That was never kind of done in our house, so I would never really, I'll have a drink at home tonight.
Yeah, you did like 200 days this year, did you?
What?
You did 200 days this year.
I did 200 and yeah.
And I thought I was great doing my 100. Like you did 222 without really meaning to.
Yeah, it actually didn't bother me. It was like, people were like, wow. And I was like, it's probably just, It actually didn't bother me to go that long without alcohol. I was so hungover for the first 50 days of of starting it, I didn't want to drink. And it's like that. It's like when you're not, for me, I think when I'm not drinking, I really see the effects of alcohol so much more. And it's not like physically I'm okay, I'll get up and I'll do whatever, but like mentally it really does like deplete me, the anxiety, the low mood, the low energy. It's not worth it.
Yeah, so starting back with me, alcohol, same age actually, Sharon. I was 14 years old. I remember exactly. I had 3 cans of Bulmers, yeah, Bulmers, and in the back of Robert Duggan's car, out the back of his house. And it was actually on New Year's Eve, and I remember thinking I was like the coolest person in the world. I was like, oh my God, I'm after drinking 3 cans. I'm like, I'm not like falling all over the place. And I remember we went home, and because it was New Year's Eve, I think my I think my sister was there, and she might have said to me, "Do you want a glass of champagne?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." But for me, then, for like progressively over the years with that, I have never had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. Thank God. Even to this day, uh, I've gone through different phases in my life with alcohol, but it was never been a stage where it was unhealthy for me. And I think I first started going out. Uh, it's funny actually when I said at the start that I probably the thing that people don't realize about me is that I'm actually 33 when people think I'm younger. That was a big problem for me when I was younger. So when I was like 15 or 16 or 17, I found it really hard to get into places and that. Um, but as we all know, there are, certain places in town where you could be able to get into that. And I think I started going out, I'd say regularly, probably when I was about 16. But there was definitely a lot of anxiousness around that, being like, oh my God, am I going to get in? Am I going to get in? I'm not going to get in. That was before I even got into the place. But I, yeah, I never really had like a massive, like, I never had a love of alcohol. Alcohol for me was always just to have some fun and to socialize and have a good time with my friends. Um, Even when I was in college, I didn't go out as much as my college friends and that. Um, I didn't drink as much. I didn't drink as regularly as them. I might go out like maybe once or twice a month, maybe. That was it for me. That was like throughout my 4 years in college. I just never really had uh, an interest in it as much. Um, I suppose I just kind of, uh, yeah, I kind of just more preferred the kind of like social aspect of it rather than the alcohol itself. But it never got to a stage where it was having like a negative impact on my life. And when I talk about like cycles and that, like I would have went through time in my life, where I would have went on like two, the very very rare occasions, 3 day benders. But even when I say that, it was never unhealthy for me, because it was only on like a rare occasion. And when I say that, it was almost, I remember going back to that time when two of the girls were up in Phillies and that, like Phillies really was the kind of spot that made, I think alcohol really fun because of the environment that it was in, you know. Everyone just loved going there. It was always a place where you could just go and have some fun, talk to your friends, meet your friends, and like just have a really, really good time. That definitely had like a huge impact in a time in my life where those like 2 day benders might happen. But it was always just a case of fun. There was never any harm or never any ill done with alcohol. And I think now the cycle I'm in right now with alcohol is I definitely don't drink as much as what I do. Um, it's very rare that I do drink. It's more so on kind of like social occasions or the odd time I might go home and it might be an occasion where something has come up and you're like, do you want to go out? Maybe I might. So like I would say the amount of times I drink within the year is probably like possibly in around 10 maybe to 15, depending on whatever situations are going on in the year that. But like I've had two weddings this year now where I've drank quite heavily and like just the next day, like usually I would look forward to those like day twos. just the next day, like I've just been like, no, just can't do it. I don't want to. Um, I've just kind of like fallen out of that phase. So yeah, that's kind of been my relationship with alcohol, and that's where it is right now.
Yeah. I'll go next then. So me, I think I was probably the same as Tommy and Sharon. I think it was around 14. And definitely started drinking, like just going camping with friends and getting someone older to get you a few cans or an Agana vodka. That was kind of the start of drinking, and then obviously started going out. I think it was actually like my 16th birthday was like my first time in a pub, but I think I was like the oldest out of our friends group. So I think I just remember it being really hard for me to get into places as well, because I just had such a baby face. So I like basically didn't get in anywhere till I was 18, like proper nightclubs and stuff. But yeah, so growing up, lots of drinking as I was younger. In college then it was kind of not that much, I think, compared to other people. My college years were probably a little bit quieter, but definitely then in the last couple of years, like my relationship with alcohol has changed. And I think, as I'm getting older, I'm definitely not drinking as much. And I see like, the negative effects of how you feel in the following days and just the effects it has on, your performance, your mental energy. And like Sharon says, like I definitely would be someone who would feel anxious after, heavy drinking or a night out, and it just affects me mentally for a couple of days. But I think definitely in the last couple of years, my relationship with alcohol has changed. I'm not going out as much, like for big nights. Probably the only exception would be weddings would be like the biggest night where I'm like probably drink too much and feel kind of crap in the following days. But other than that, then it's just a couple of times a year if there's maybe on holidays or if with a group of friends. But other than that, like probably would just maybe have a couple of drinks with dinner, like maybe one or two glasses of wine, or like nothing really too big. So no real big nights anymore. But yeah, I think that's pretty much mine. And yeah, similar to Sharon, well, I did 100 days off alcohol this year. And the real reason I did it was just kind of as a bit of a challenge. And as well as that, I kind of wanted to just really get my full potential out of obviously doing the photo shoot dieting phase. And just wanted to be in a really good routine leading up to that. And I found with the 100 days off it, like, saw massive improvements in everything. I think sleep was probably the best. Like sleep just kind of was almost automatic, waking up at the exact same time every day. Digestion really improved, performance, energy, really saw massive improvements with nearly everything. And I think the best thing with it as well is, especially if you are maybe trying to get fitter, trying to get healthier, having that period without alcohol, I think it just helps you get a lot more from yourself, and you're just able to obviously push yourself a lot harder. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, my turn. So my relationship with alcohol, I think I had my first drink when just before I left, maybe like 12. I tasted my first alcoholic drink, because I think in primary school we all, like, before going into secondary school, we were like, we all have to taste what alcohol tastes like. It was like something we had to do. But then I'd say kind of the same as you, started drinking when I was 14, 15, 16, drinking and getting Eve possibly to get me drink. And yeah, drinking fields, and then probably went out at around 16-ish, maybe. And then yeah, I guess I never had I never had like an addictive relationship to alcohol. I never felt like I needed it or had that craving during the week, like, and I never felt the need to even like have one or two odd drinks. But I think it's also kind of the Irish mindset that, like, if you're drinking to get drunk. There's no point having just one or two. And then I guess in secondary school and college, we drank a lot. Every weekend kind of thing. During the week it would be fine, but then at the weekend it was just like the standard thing to kind of do. And I used to wear it as a badge of honor, but I used to have like a very high tolerance to alcohol. And I would never get like, I was always able to kind of like handle myself. And just, I did use alcohol as kind of like a crutch to my anxieties, because I used to go out. I used to have such bad anxiety, and I used to be so anxious before even going out and going and worrying about so many things, that like the alcohol kind of helped me not worry as much about those things. And at the time I was like, oh, it's allowing me to be more myself. And so, yeah, so it was a lot of drinking at the weekends, just kind of standard things. But it never really physically got to me. Like I'd wake up the next day, I'd get up early, I'd get on with my day, and I wouldn't feel too much of the effects of it. And I used to wear that as like a badge of honor, but like, Jesus, I can drink, and it doesn't really affect me. But I realized, as like in the last 5 or so years, that this is my own interpretation of it, that like, because I used to be so anxious going out, like my body used to be like so tense going out, that like the alcohol didn't get, it took a lot of alcohol for me to like kind of get affected by it almost. And then the next day, because I already had like regular anxiety, the extra anxiety, I was like, oh, it's not much. So I never really thought I was getting too affected by it. But then over the last 5 years, like working on myself and having a better relationship with myself, being more confident in who I am, I realized I used to go out and drink, and the next day, my mental, the effect it had on my mindset, or just even like my negative self-talk or self-doubt or my creativity, was just crazy compared to like physically fine. And then I remember going off alcohol for, I think it was when I was in Budapest, because I felt that like I was going out at the weekends to have a couple of drinks as like the standard thing to do, but the nights, there was nothing to the nights, and it was just kind of filling time. And then I felt that come Wednesday, I was only coming around to getting my creativity and all this back by Wednesday, and then it would be just a cycle again. So I decided to go off it, and my mental clarity from going off alcohol was crazy. I couldn't get over it. My self-doubt, like everything, I was just, my performance obviously in the gym and everything that improved, in my sleep, but like I couldn't get over the mental clarity from being off alcohol for a while. And then, yeah, the benefits just outweighed the negatives. And I think I did 100 days off alcohol. And then in the last year or so, again, like all of you, I rarely, if I go out to meet people, I might have like 1 or 2 drinks, but rarely there's a big night out. And it's usually, if I'm having a big night out with alcohol, it's usually with people that I want to go out and enjoy my time with. And I take kind of like the whole event into account. And then, yeah, I think that's basically my relationship with alcohol now. I think I changed my approach to even like when I have a couple of drinks, and I find like that's different, because I used to use it as a crutch, and hope that it was going to get me to like just to relax me in a sense. And now I'm able to go out and like actually just go out and enjoy the drink, and not be drinking it for a certain outcome, and just to enjoy it, and to enjoy the actual taste, have 1 or 2 drinks. But yeah, the benefits of being off it mentally for me was a huge game changer.
Yeah. So my relationship with alcohol started like Sharon. I think I was like 14, could even have been 13. I started when, it's funny because it's actually reflecting on this is quite interesting. So yeah, 13 to 14, my reasoning when I look back now is just to fit in, because I moved from Australia to Ireland at 13, so I definitely wasn't in Ireland that long. And I wouldn't say I was pushed. It was just like Sharon said, people, that's what they were doing, and it was definitely just to fit in. That started like 14, I'd say, consistently from 14 to 18, drinking, probably starting to fit in. And then I'd say through my teens, I used it as a way to feel confident, or at least I thought it was confidence. because I lacked confidence, but only in certain areas, weirdly. So like I was confident when I think I was confident when I was comfortable. And when I was comfortable was one, playing sport because I was good at it. And two was probably after a few drinks because I was more relaxed as you get. So that was like up until 18, finished school, took a year out. That was probably the worst my health or drinking was. Worked in a factory for a year, doing like 3 cycle shifts, so nights, evenings, mornings. Literally get to Friday, from Friday until Monday morning, Sunday night, just in a pub drinking. Um, did that for a few months and was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to college because I didn't even intend to go to college. I was like, and then after doing that, I was like, yeah, I need to go. College then was actually the start of kind of like the opposite. Most people go to college and start going mad. I kind of like went mad when I was younger and then stopped going mad in college. Fell in love with the gym. Obviously, I was playing basketball as well at the time, studying to be a PT or what was it, leisure recreation management. So yeah, I kind of nearly stopped drinking in college. It went from all the time probably down to I didn't stop. I would have called myself like a binge drinker there. I didn't drink, but then when I drank every like 4 to 6 weeks, I could go drink for 2 days. Um, which is mad to think back now because I literally cannot do that anymore. So that's what started. Then went to kind of that binge drinking. Then then it kind of went. I drank very little for a few years after that. Then I went to Australia, started drinking a lot more there. Again, it became that Monday to weekend thing. I was working in construction Monday to Friday, still training away, eating good, and then just used to go out on the weekends. Did that for a couple of years, and then moved back to Ireland. And when was that? 2015. Yeah, the last 10 years then have been definitely different. I probably didn't drink that much in my 20s overall. And then I started to drink more, I would say sociably. Again, because before it was like when you drink, you get pissed. And then it was like more actually got to a point where I'm able just to have a few drinks. But I would say at one point over the last few years, I probably was drinking more as a response to stress. And I think I justified it by being like it's just one or two, which it was. But again, the reasoning for it was like, you get to the weekend, you're like, oh, it's had a tough week, stressful. And then because I wasn't binge drinking like before, it's like I kind of nearly like said it was okay to myself. But now looking back at it, it's only when I look back at that I kind of seen that like, yeah, that was the reasoning behind that. And then obviously we're now this point, yeah, I'd say for the last few years, just drinking less and less and more. It's more of like Rose said, the positives of not drinking outweigh the negatives, and even for me, the effects of alcohol now, probably all can test this like as you get older, just it becomes less and less worth it. And now it's more like special occasions really. And I would like sum up my relationship with alcohol has changed a lot. And even doing the 100 days off it definitely improved it even more. And the way I put it is I used to drink to escape my life and now I drink to celebrate. So that's where I've gotten to now. And probably a long-winded story. But yeah, it's interesting to look back over the years.
I really like that.
Mhm.
Drink to celebrate, not to
Yeah.
escape.
Yeah, I don't
Funny
even know if I
you
heard
said
that.
there about that when what?
I don't know if I heard that or I made it up. I'm gonna say I made it up.
You made it up. Copyright.
Get
You
that
made
on
it
the
up.
sheet.
You know, it's something you said there about drinking when you're stressed. Like and it's really funny because if I have a stressful week, or if I have like a really low mood week, or a week where I'm like overwhelmed or feeling down, like in the past, I would have drank, but now I know that doing that is actually going to make me feel 10 times worse. So I'll avoid it like the plague.
Yeah. I was only saying that to you recently, Tommy, even about you, the last couple times you've been sick. It was kind of off the back of drinking, but after a stressful period, because you don't really get sick, like I presume, from what I know.
No, definitely. No, and it was so interesting when you did say that to me that like when I look back, I think it was like definitely like 3 occasions, like the last 12 or 14 months where it's just been like an extremely busy period that has definitely like caused a lot of stress, and not like going out to drink in response to that. It was only just the fact that there was occasions that like came about where alcohol was involved at the end of those periods. But as a result of that, yeah, definitely like I just got sick, and like 2 of those occasions was during the summer, and like I rarely got sick throughout the year, even in winter. And then for it to me to happen twice during the summer, it was like, what's going on here? Like, I don't know what you were saying is that probably going to the next question about talking about the immune system and that, you know.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was like, it kind of shows the effects of alcohol. That's one of them is suppress the immune system, so you just can't fight off the sickness, and that's where like you're probably just fighting it off with the stress that everything going on, and then when the alcohol goes into the system, it's like everything shuts down, and that's what I want to kind of talk about now is like looking at the effects of alcohol, and I want to kind of split it into like effects on our health and the effects on our body composition. So with health, I don't really think we need to go into it too much because I think everybody knows alcohol is not good for our health. It's linked. I was going to pull up a lot like research of that, but like I don't even think we need it to know. Like is everyone in agreement? It's pretty much not going to be this. It's not the solution for any health problems. It's not alcohol. I don't think so, and it's associated with so many diseases, deaths. Yeah, did everyone agree with that?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
So
200%.
so yeah, not from a health perspective. Yeah, there's nobody. I think there was one study before where they were like saying that a couple of units of alcohol could be. People try and like justify some of these like one-off studies to say, and I definitely did it before with like, glass of wine, things like that. But I'm pretty sure that that's even like just one study, and the benefit is so small that it's not really actually a benefit when you look at all the negatives that can happen.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that.
So
That's all people need, Matt, is one study.
yeah, it's what's it called? Is it cognitive dissonance or bias?
Cognitive bias.
Yeah, it's like that's all. Everything else don't want to see it. This one thing says I can. Give me the wine. So with alcohol, obviously in here on body composition, a lot of people will kind of said alcohol makes you fat or makes you gain weight or it's associated with that. And there's definitely good reasons for it, but I think it's important to know that like alcohol in itself doesn't make you gain weight. It contains calories, and those I'm sure 1 unit of alcohol is like 7 calories, if I'm correct. And it's
Right.
the excess calories over time that make you gain weight, and it's the influence that alcohol can have on your food choices, your movement, your mood, everything else, even hormonally. That all has this cascade of effects that essentially lead you to over consuming on total calories. And I think it's really important to distinguish that. And the thing with alcohol is that it's kind of linked to what you were saying, Tommy, about you getting sick. Is when there's alcohol in your system, your body essentially treats it like poison. So it stops all other processes until the alcohol is eliminated. So you can imagine it like you go to work, you have a ton of stuff to do. Your boss rings you and is like, call everything else off. There's an emergency. You're doing this until it's finished, and you're staying here. You're not going home. You're not eating. That's what happens in your body when alcohol is present. So that's why often other processes like digestion, it can be poor. again, digestive system isn't working properly. Your sleep is affected. You can be dehydrated. Dehydration is a huge part of the hangover. Some people say that's like mostly what a hangover is. And then we can have excess cravings. Again, our hunger hormones can be completely put off. So the thing with alcohol, and this is why some people will say like alcohol makes you fat, is like you can't store alcohol in your body. And as long as alcohol is in the system, all carbs and fats, they can be pushed towards storage. And then basically what happens is when alcohol is in your system, fat oxidation, so fat burning, is blunted. Again, your body is basically busy trying to get rid of all this alcohol. It does not going to burn body fat. But still, again, comes back to that's where that soundbite might sound like alcohol makes you fat because it stops fat burning, promotes fat storage. It still comes down to your overall calorie balance. It's just when that happens, everything is essentially thrown off. And that kind of goes into muscle gain as well. So alcohol really affects your ability to build muscle for a lot of different reasons, but even hormonally. There's actually an interesting study where they took a blood sample from people that were drunk, and they found that 45 the guys had 45% less testosterone than the sober people, which also probably plays into why some men can't perform after a lot of drink because their testosterone was tuned. And on the flip side, this was what I thought was funny. Women's testosterone increased fivefold. So men's decreased, women's increased with alcohol, which is very weird. And yeah, it also impairs a process called muscle protein synthesis, which is essentially responsible for recovery repair. So again, this is where, especially in sport, I always see it like, what does everyone do after like games? You go drinking. It's probably the worst thing you can do for your recovery. But again, I don't think that's going to ever stop, but it's like understanding those things. And so, yeah, any thoughts on that in terms of body composition and alcohol?
Yeah, I think even if like you think about, okay, you've been out at the weekend, you've had a night out or whatever, you probably had less sleep. Sunday, you're maybe dragging a little bit, moving a little bit slower. Monday, you're still a bit slow to go. But even if you think of those training sessions that you have early in the week after alcohol, again, like with the dehydration part, like dehydrated muscles are tight muscles, and you're not going to be able to perform as well physically in the gym. You're not going to be able to push the intensity of your workouts. You're not, probably, if energy is low, sleep isn't great, maybe for the first couple of days after drinking, unless you're in a good routine and you kind of have a good awareness of it, you're probably not going to be eating in a way that's going to fuel those training sessions maybe, or the recovery afterwards. And while like if you're looking at improving your body composition, okay, one weekend every couple of weeks, it's not going to really have a massive effect. But if you're starting maybe with a goal of improving your body composition and you're working towards that over a number of weeks, if you're not able to train properly, your body composition won't change. It won't improve if you're not able to train properly, get your movement in, eat in a way that's going to support that. And if you're not being consistent, if you are kind of drinking that little bit more regularly, it will affect consistency and your adherence, which again, both of those things are so important for changing your body composition.
Yeah.
And I think as well so even something I notice is when alcohol, like it's a cumulative effect. Like one night out doesn't do too much, but if you're out like every week for like a month, that's when even personally I'll know there's like, it's just, and even when I'm trying to do the right things, it's just not there. It's like something is missing.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
think
Ro, you were
it's
going
the
to say
main
something.
thing with people as well is it's
Go on, Eve.
Yeah, I think the main thing as well with people as well after a night out is you just lack discipline. So like you're a lot less likely to do what you said you would if you're out at the weekend. You're probably going to hit snooze on your alarm. You know, you're a lot more likely to make poor choices with your nutrition, and you know you'll probably talk yourself out of going to the gym. And if you do go to the gym, you're not going to be able to push yourself and progress. And I definitely think, you know, if you are out every single weekend, that's going to have a huge impact on your training performance over a course of a diet. If you're trying to lose weight or if you're trying to build muscle, it's taking you a couple of days each week just to recover and to get back to where you were on the previous week. And sleep, like I think you were talking about that, but even after a night out, like you might think that, okay, I go home, I'm knocked out after having a couple of drinks, I'm getting a full night's sleep, but that sleep quality isn't good, and you know you're not getting deep sleep, you're not getting restorative sleep. And I think Matt, you probably know the answer to this, but it's like takes up to 5 days for your sleep to kind of regulate after a night out. And I definitely would even notice with myself that, you know, if I've had like the wedding last week, I think we had the wedding on Friday night, it definitely took me about 4 or 5 days before I was getting that, like, my sleep back on track where I'm able to fall asleep and I'm able to get up on that first, you know, get up out in the morning, not feeling that groggy feeling.
Yeah, I was just going to say there, on when I did the 100 days off alcohol, that was a huge thing that I noticed was my performance in the gym. And like I rarely had the days where you go in sluggish and you kind of half arse it just for the sake of it. Like I was progressing most sessions, and just I remember messaging Eve and I was like, my energy, like it's crazy. I don't have that sluggishness because there wasn't that catch up after a weekend. And it was a huge thing that I noticed was my performance and my recovery. Because when you work, even if you do work out after a night out or after a weekend, your recovery isn't great. Like you're in more pain. Your muscles are more tense because you've probably pushed them too much. I used to do that. Like if I worked out after a night out, I used to think I was great getting a workout in, and I'd push myself, but then I'd be in bits, you know, recovering from that.
I said this to you a few weeks ago. I think we were out on Saturday. I think it was a Monday, and I was like doing whatever workout, and I just came to the end of the set, and I was like, don't have it in me. It's like I would usually have 2 more reps. I just was like, I don't, like, I was trying, but I just couldn't do it. And I was like, I knew it as well. I'm like, it's because I was out. And it's like you were saying with the sleep, you get hit from so many angles because one, an alcohol in your system, two is like if you're out till 3 a.m. and usually you go to bed at like 10 or 11, then you're, let's say you have a food binge after it or eat crap food, you have that on trying to get out as well. And if you look back at like what I said earlier, like, so your body's trying to get the alcohol out of the system, it's not doing anything else, then the crap food still has to go as well. So, and then you're trying to get back into your normal, regular sleeping pattern. You know, it's a lot of work. And I think the biggest things, one of it is nutrition. And it's because like post drinking food binges, we all know, like, where you go after a night out, everyone goes chipper, eating whatever, God knows what. The next day, then same thing. You don't crave a salad, you know. You could be stuck on the couch.
Yeah,
And the thing is, the thing with like alcohol as well, alcohol is the least satiating energy source. So it's the energy source that keeps you the less, doesn't fill you, and then it actually can stimulate your appetite. So we all know this. I'm actually somebody who I can't eat after drinking more so than can, but Eve, you probably will definitely agree. Like
on the opposite,
you're hungry, yeah, so you can't get full, and yeah. So that's like when you look at it, especially if you're dieting, trying to lose body fat, that's not easy in general. When you have every box ticked, it's still going to be tough enough. And so if you add that on top of it, and now your mood, your willpower is declining, your sleep, it's a lot. And it's not saying you can't do it. You definitely can. But it's probably the amount, the frequency of it, and how much you actually drink as well on a night out. So yeah. Tommy, do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think what I was going to talk about, it was something that you touched on, is sleep and the emotional and psychological impact of what alcohol does to you. Because one of the primary processes of sleep for us as human beings is to process experiences that we've had that day through our dreams. And when you drink alcohol, you black out. You don't, as he said, you don't go into that deep state where you're actually having any dreams. And I think, I think you were saying it takes like a couple of days for that sleep to be regulated. So you're missing out on plenty of opportunities for you to be able to process um, the day's events that you had via your dreams. And when we look at alcohol too, like where does alcohol almost directly impact is your gut. And what is one of the hormones that our gut makes for us um, to self-regulate us and to make us feel happy is serotonin. So if you are drinking alcohol um, at a more frequent rate than, let's say, what's considered healthy, then that is directly impacting your ability to secrete the hormone serotonin. So I don't think we haven't obviously talked about anything that would positively impact your health in that, but I think it is important for people to be aware of all these different factors that do come into play when we consume alcohol. And I think when you talked about like that statement, does alcohol make you gain weight? It may not be the alcohol, but it's the direct impacts, the choices that you make after consuming alcohol that really can affect whether you're going to adhere to your goals, you're going to stick to your goals. Because, as you mentioned, it impacts so many different other areas of your life.
Yeah, and I definitely think as well, like for people that are like trying to lose weight or, you know, get in shape, like obviously you can still drink and work towards these goals, but it will have a huge impact if you can even just take a period of time away where you're like, okay, right, I'm not going to drink for 8 weeks. I'm really going to put the head down. And, you know, during that period, then you'll be able to maximize your progress by taking away that alcohol, because, you know, it's just going to make it so much easier to tick all those boxes each week that you need to kind of get the most from your progress.
Tommy, you said it as well. Like, I think the biggest factor for me when I look at it all is actually my motivation and drive after alcohol. And like, I have a good example here. So I have a goal this year of journaling every day, 365 days. I think we're on 319 today. The only time in the 319 days I've missed a day of journaling has been because I'm drunk or hungover all this year. And it just shows me like
They
How
would have
many
been
days?
interesting entries.
300. How many? I must actually look.
319 days, miss.
I'm actually an alcoholic. This is the. Hello, my name is Matt. But yeah, and like it's wild. I kind of compare it to like surviving versus thriving. Like all of the like non-essential things in my life get like thrown away when I'm drinking. It's like just do enough to get through the day now today versus like when I'm obviously fresh, you know, you have that drive to do so much more. And also, yeah, obviously we know it's like it lowers your inhibitions, cannot care about things anymore. You make bad decision making abilities are impaired. And yeah, it's funny because Tommy, you said it. It sounds completely like that we're all 100% anti-drinking, which I don't think any of us actually are. It's just as being aware of, I suppose, the negatives of it and the effects it can have on you. And you said about sleep, something that you'll commonly hear is a lot of people that feel like who are like highly stressed who drink frequently, who like drink basically I need to drink to fall asleep. And it's interesting that people will often do that or they'll have their glass of wine like 4 or 5 nights a week. It what it does is it actually basically puts you straight into a coma, into a deep sleep. So you miss the state. It turns your sleep cycles upside down, which actually then you don't get that deep restorative sleep. You don't go through the stages of sleep you need to, and that's where it knocks you out. But the quality is so poor, and then you wake up obviously groggy. Then next day, then you're not recovered. Your energy is lower. You go into your stressful job day at work. Get to the end of the day, like I need that. It becomes this cycle, and that's what I want to look at. It's like now it's like the trade off with drinking, because I don't think it's all bad. I don't think I think there is benefits to it. Would you agree, Tommy?
Yeah, 100% for me. I think I 33 years of age. I know what's going to come when I drink alcohol. But I very much accept that because I like to socialize with my friends. I want to have a good time with my friends. Just because alcohol might make me feel bad the next day, it's not going to make me give up alcohol completely. Because, like I said, I don't have a negative relationship with alcohol. I can consume it at a level where it's not having like a damaging effect to me. And I think just like anything in life, everything is balance. And yes, obviously we've talked about all the negative impacts of alcohol, but for me, I think when I drink alcohol now, it's just trying to pace myself and having the ability to say no to people. That's actually been a huge thing for me over the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years, is saying no to people at the bar. I know even something that you've talked about before is Jay Alderton talking about that time with shots. I have done that. I have literally implemented that into my life now because I know what that does to me the next day. Like, it literally, I know I'm going to feel bad, but what's going to make me feel even worse is if I drink what I used to drink when I was younger. Like we all know, I used to always drink Jaeger bombs and that the whole time. I will just flat out refuse them now. I won't, like, people have bought them for me at the bar and I've simply just been like, no, I'm not having that. And it's very interesting to see someone when they're like, what? Why won't you have it? And I'm just like, because I'm telling you, I just don't want to have that. I drink like softer shots like Baby Guinness and that because I know they're not going to send me over the edge the next day. But like things that are really going to make me like black out or make me violently ill the next day, I just won't do that. And I can still have a good time with alcohol that night. I can still enjoy my time with my friends. I can still have a laugh. So for me, it's just about having boundaries with alcohol now, especially when I'm out. Yes, of course, over the last 3 or 4 years, there's definitely been times where I haven't got that 100% right. But I'm quite proud of the fact that I have implemented that into my life right now. And I think that's why I probably have a more healthier relationship with alcohol now too, is because I do have those boundaries in place with myself of like what I drink and what I won't drink. And at the end of it all, I'm still having a fun time with my friends.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that as well. And having boundaries with alcohol, and it's something that I've definitely been able to do a lot over the last couple of years. Like I would have, when I was younger and growing up, I would have been the type of person that was always the drunkest person there, fall asleep. You'd always find me asleep. That was my thing on nights out, just fall asleep. Whereas in the last couple of years, like I'm able to kind of know my limits a bit better now. And even like, I think something that's really helped me is kind of asking yourself on a night out, okay, trying to drink at your own pace. So I definitely don't do rounds with anyone because I just avoid them because I like to drink at my own pace. And I find if I'm in a round, then you're pressured to drink a bit faster. And at some points during the night as well, I'll actually just have something like sparkling water. Just be like, okay, I'm happy at this point now. Another drink isn't going to make me any happier. So, I'm able to switch it, have a sparkling water, and I remember the whole night then, enjoy the whole night, and you wake up so much fresher the next day for it. And I definitely think that's something that I probably struggled with for a lot of my life, but in the last maybe couple of years, definitely that's been the biggest change for me. But obviously there's still certain occasions, like Tommy said as well, where you kind of fail at that, but for the most part, definitely have seen improvements.
Yeah, I think that saying that
I'm with you, Tommy, I wouldn't drink more.
drinking is like borrowing happiness from tomorrow. And which is so true, but I think, like we all
Yeah.
said here, there is the benefits to it. Like if it's worth borrowing the happiness from tomorrow, like if you're going to be with your friends who you enjoy and you're having a good time with, it makes it all the difference, because having a drink does take the edge off. It does, it does put you in that mood of like relaxing and enjoying and socializing. And I think I've definitely changed. Like even Eve was saying, like when I was younger, I would be drinking in rounds, and I'm actually ashamed the tolerance I had for alcohol, because I used to be able to drink so much and never really get very messy. Like I was always able to kind of hold my own, but it is nowadays.
You were my babysitter.
Now I drink. It's very
Meant to be the
rarely
older
when I
sister.
drink, and it's when it is like I know I'm okay with the occasion, and I'm because I'm in a better energy and I have a better relationship with the alcohol. I feel like it doesn't have too much of a negative impact the next day. And there was something else I wanted to say there. Oh, I can't think. Somebody else talk.
It'll come back.
I'm like you, Tommy. I wouldn't drink if someone put a Jaeger bomb in front of me. I would not drink it. I'd be like, no. I haven't drank one in years. Like I dread them. The sight of them, I'm gone. And something I definitely find is, I will always stay on the one drink all night. Like that really does have a massive effect the following day. If you're just staying on the one drink all night. And like, I think, as much as we say, okay, this is what happens with alcohol or whatever, it is like what Rose said. Sometimes like you're okay, you might be borrowing tomorrow's happiness, but it is worth it. And there is sometimes like that is good for you or good for your health to go out with friends. I think it always depends on who you're going out with.
Yeah.
And the fun that you're having with them. That is massive, like, and going out, like having a great night out with your friends, and then the following day the stories,
Yeah.
even though okay, you might be tired, you might not slept well, you might be hungover, you mightn't want to go for a walk, but like you're sitting down, you're chatting, you're laughing, so you're getting back the happiness that you borrowed from the following day, that night out.
But
Yeah, I definitely think I would.
It comes from who you're with.
Yeah, and I definitely think, yeah, like what you're saying, I would never like give up alcohol, because I do enjoy having those nights out, and some of the best experiences that I've had have been with nights out or holidays with friends and things like that. So it's definitely got its time and its place to have a couple of drinks.
But I think also
Literally what I was going to say, I was like,
go on, Matt.
some of the best nights we've all had have all been involved with alcohol, and alcohol in it has probably made it better. But it's just knowing that we have the choice and that we have control over it, versus feeling like you're not in control, or it has such a negative like that. When you have those type of nights, you take the trade off. You take the next day. You're like, like you said, it's like I'll take that. That's the experience we had. But versus like if you're not in control, and then you have the negatives constantly, it just outweighs it. So it's again, it's like most things in life. It just comes back to like balance and your own relationship with it versus the alcohol itself. Would you agree?
Yeah, I was definitely going to say that it's the relationship, because like as long as you're not drinking it to like almost change who you are in a sense, but having control in a group, like drinking it to get the benefits of like everyone just taking the edge off of and having a bit of fun, it completely changes it. And I've even noticed that on myself, that when I used to drink, my hangovers used to be worse when I was like even more anxious about an event and going out already in like an anxious kind of stressful mood and then drinking. My hangover would be way worse than when I'm going out with a relaxed group of people who I'm comfortable around, and I already feel safe before the alcohol hits my system, and then drinking the next day, because I was on such high energy in the night and enjoying the night, that the hangover doesn't seem as bad the next day.
I definitely find that true. And it's what we're going to talk about in the next podcast as well, is because we kind of went through the effects here, but I want to go through kind of like how to drink and how to use alcohol while still achieving your goals, because I don't think it's realistic for a lot of people to go like, I'm just not drinking. So if we can have tools and strategies that can help with still achieving your goals, but still being able to have that social element, I think it's a key part of long-term success for most people, and even for all of us. It's like kind of a skill, even from listening to everyone here, it's like kind of a skill that we've all got better at over the years. It's still, again, like even you said it, like none of it's still not perfect. Again, we probably have times where we get together here, this vibe, and actually get too excited. But again, it's always worth it. So I think that will finish today's episode. Next week we're going to talk about the kind of strategies to implement. But to finish on the random question, we have the second one of the day. What's something others purchase that you simply can't understand why?
You sounded like a robot there. What did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't hear a word of it.
What's something others purchase that you simply can't understand why?
What's something others purchase that you simply can't understand
Someone else
why they purchase it?
Yeah.
I'm back now, so I'll say it again. What's something others purchase that you simply can't understand why?
You're not back.
What did you say, Tommy?
It's what's something you can purchase. What's something that others purchase that you can't understand why they would buy something like that? Why would they spend their money on something like that?
You know that little stepper thing where you can sit down and just step on those like TV commercial like ads? I just remember seeing that in the gym, and I was like, that is the most ridiculous.
Early morning cardio.
I think they're great for like
Are they?
elderly people who want to
Yeah,
be a
they
little
are.
more active that can't walk.
My God.
Blood flow to the legs.
Well, usually people
I'm
on
going
the
to
ads
jump
are
in
like
on that.
business
What?
women with their heels on, and they're like pedaling, and it's like, just get up and go for a fucking walk.
What were you going to say, Tommy?
No,
I'm going to
sometimes
jump in on
there's
that.
older people in the ads. Sorry, Tommy.
No, I'm going to agree with that. It was, wasn't it that time a few months ago, every single person on Instagram was sharing these treadmills that you walk on. And I'm like, honestly, I just go outside and go for a walk. Like, I can't, when I used to see videos of people like watching TV, walking on the treadmill, I'm just like,
Yeah.
you're defeating the whole purpose of going outside or getting a walk, of like being out in fresh air.
I think they're good though for like the winter time if it's too rainy or if it's too rainy to get outside.
Yeah.
Get the umbrella, Eve.
There's no such thing as bad weather. It's bad weather.
Tommy's team nature.
Well, I definitely would opt for a walk outside, but I do
Right.
think they are good for people who maybe have like kids or they can't get outside, or even like if they just needed a little bit more movement. I think people use them as well as like walking desks. So you have your like desk and you can kind of walk as you're working.
Yeah.
But I would not be able to walk and work at the same time.
No.
Yeah, I know the ones you're on
No
about
way.
is the actual stepper.
Yeah.
I feel like that question, I have a load of things that
I
I
gotta jump.
see now, and I'd be like, oh, that's what I should have said.
I'll see you later. I gotta go.
Okay. Bye.
You know what came to my head? What came to my head was really expensive handbags.
That's what came to my head too. The first thing that came to my head.
Yeah, for me, I just don't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't understand it.
Like I get why some people would want it, but for me, like I could never spend that kind of money on.
Like when you can buy a flight
bag.
for that price or a holiday.
Yeah. That's a good one, actually. I'm with you on that one. I'm definitely the expensive clothes and that is just, yeah, I can
Also
understand.
powdered mashed potatoes. I don't get them.
Yes, that's actually true as
Powdered
well.
mash.
See, there's so many. This could be an actual podcast. There's so many
Or
out there.
ham in a can.
Oh,
Spam.
what's it
I
called?
can be guilty and say I definitely purchased powdered mashed potato at some time in my life,
Shame on you.
but I didn't do it again. But I definitely did.
I'm going to be thinking
I
of
thought I
these
was
all
going for
day.
convenience. I thought it'd be easier, but it's not. We'll just end up sending screenshots of things into the group.
Yeah.
Next episode.
Yeah, random.
That's your research for the next week.
Right. Thank you for joining us today, guys, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Future Fitness Lifestyle. If you found value in today's show, please take a moment to leave us a review and share it with someone who could benefit. Every single review or share helps us grow the show and will allow us to keep bringing you more great content. Stay tuned for weekly episodes where we'll be sharing more tips and insights to help you take your health, fitness, and mindset to the next level. Thanks again for joining us, and remember, consistency beats perfection. See you in the next episode.